Thanks for coming in. This is the Premier Mindset by Premier Performance LLC. I'm your host, Trent Mailer, LCSW, and this is episode 19. We have a bunch of information in our show notes, so be sure to check that out, whether that be descriptions of the episodes or links or research articles, all that. That would be a great place to find it. If you are looking for anything, I check there first, and if you are looking for something from me, that might be where I put it first if you do ask for it. So let me know if you do need anything, but be sure to check that out and see if there's anything there you're looking for. We also have videos of the episodes on YouTube and Spotify, and I will share clips on social media. The episodes themselves are available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you would like it anywhere else, let me know and I'll put it up there too. It would be awesome if you guys could leave a review, like us, follow us, favorite, subscribe. Make sure to get the content as it comes out and just let us know how you're feeling about everything. All the feedback you guys give us is really helpful, and putting this stuff out there for more and more people is kind of our mission. So it would be really awesome if you guys want to help us out with it. People could benefit from this episode are maybe people that are struggling to build habits or stuck in habits that they may want to get out of. This could be people trying to understand themselves a little bit better in general. It could be just trying to understand how to add in a new habit or so in their life and just looking to get started. Or it could just be somebody struggling and not sure where to go. So if you do think anyone could get something from it, make sure to send it to them, share it with them, give them a little clip of it, whatever it is, see if they do benefit from it. The whole goal of this is just getting people what they need and helping them be the best they can be. So if you want to help us out with that mission, that would be awesome. But at the same time, it's not a replacement for therapy or medical treatment. It's purely educational. So if people do need things to take care of stuff, that's totally fine. Just make sure we go get what we need. Go set up for therapy. Go get the medical treatment. Get the appointment set up. If we do have things going on and we got to take care of it, it's best just to take care of it. Don't let it sit in the background. Don't let it get worse. So jump on these things now and let's see what they turn into. With that, I do make it a point to give you guys actionable tools to find success in your life, and it's all evidence-based. They're not just random things. It's all been researched in various ways. The reason for that is if I am giving you guys things to do, I know you guys have busy lives and a lot of things going on, so I want to make sure that the stuff I'm giving you is actually working and helpful and is backed by something. It's not just a random thing we're trying and hoping it works. So make sure to try these things out. They're all backed by reason, and there's a reason I am giving them to you guys. I want you guys to try them out and see if there is anything there for you and kind of explore how it fits with you in your life. If you do have any questions, any concerns, issues, things you want me to cover more on, if you just want to talk to me about something, let me know about how things are going. That would be awesome. There's a lot of different ways you can reach out. The first one is through email. My email is tmailer@premierperformancereno.com. My last name is spelled Mahler. You can text or call me directly at 775-561-0056. We have the Instagram and the TikTok with the same name, Premier_Performance_Reno. And then the Facebook page and the LinkedIn page with the same name again, Premier Performance LLC for both of those. So make sure to follow us, join these communities, get on board. We'd love to see you guys. And we'll jump into our topic today, which is OCD and habit forming. But first, let's do our brain activity, and then we'll really jump into what OCD is and the habit forming aspects of it. So the brain activity today is called the habit check-in. What habits do you partake in every day? Making breakfast the same every day, brushing your teeth a certain way, getting ready for bed in the same way every day, getting ready to work out, and on and on. Just what things do you do in your life that kind of plays out the same way in almost a routine or in a daily or weekly basis? I want you guys to reflect on those things and write about it. It's always different when we write about it and actually put pen to paper, so we want to do that if we can. If we can't, we can only type it or just think about it. That's okay. But I want you guys to kind of reflect on the habits you already partake in, the ones that are already kind of locked into your day. Because knowing what those habits are is going to help us add in new ones. And it's also going to help us reflect on which ones we do carry with us and if we want to continue to carry those, or if we do want to change it up and start doing some other things. So make sure to kind of reflect on that and keep in mind reflecting on these things moving forward in life as we build up things, because we want to make sure to keep an eye on just what we're doing and how we're managing stuff. Because sometimes we do let things fall to the wayside a little bit and we stop doing things and we lose track of habits that were really helping us. So being very mindful of what these habits are, what we're enjoying about them, what things are working and what things aren't is going to really help us kind of set ourselves up for success. So check in with those habits, see what you're doing. and kind of reflect on them from time to time. Give that a shot. Let me know how that goes. If it's helpful, awesome. Keep doing it. If it's not, there's other ways you can do this stuff too. Jumping in, what is OCD? OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, and it is a mental health condition characterized by unwanted, intrusive thoughts, obsessions, and repetitive behaviors, compulsions, that a person feels driven to perform. These obsessions and compulsions can significantly interfere with daily life and cause distress. Obsessions can be a lot of different things, such as intrusive thoughts, images, or urges. They're usually persistent and unwanted, causing significant anxiety or distress. We're usually like worried about the fact that the thoughts are there, that we're getting stuck on. They're causing kind of this stress in our mind that I want this gone. An example of this could be like fear of contamination, could be unwanted sexual thoughts, could be aggressive thoughts, could be concerns about order and symmetry of just like how something is set up, right? So it's kind of just this getting stuck on certain things and feeling like you can't let go of it, and it's actually causing a reaction in you, creating that anxiety, creating that distress, and that's typically what leads to the compulsion side to try and release and get some relief from the stress that's being caused by the obsession. Compulsions, on the other hand, are repetitive behaviors or mental acts individuals feel driven to perform. These actions are used to reduce the anxiety caused by the obsessions, like I was saying. The examples of that would be excessive hand washing, especially connected to that fear of contamination. So we have that fear of contamination, that our hands are dirty, we touch something we shouldn't have. So we just keep washing our hands over and over again. And it can actually lead to problems, not mentioning like the physical problems of washing our hands that often and just what happens to the skin, but the problems of how that gets in the way of our life and how often this is causing issues because we are including this habit in the life that we're living. Another thing is checking things repeatedly, checking locks multiple times, checking like the gas on the stove is off, just kind of checking things over and over again, not really fully trusting yourself. Could be counting things like locking or unlocking a lock like 10 times. Could be counting out your keys a certain way before you leave the house. Could be ordering and arranging things like the shoes by the front door or the books you have in your bookcase. Could be hoarding, just holding on to everything and anything you ever get. There's a lot of different ways it plays out, but the compulsions are kind of there to help relieve the stress of the obsessions, whatever those obsessions may be. Key characteristics of OCD is that it interferes with our daily life. These symptoms can be time-consuming, cause significant distress, and impact social, school, or work functioning because of how interfering these type of behaviors can become in those daily settings. Because it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we're usually so stuck on a lot of these obsessions that we're losing sight of focusing on other things we got to get done with our life. So it can really get in the way and cause some distress. There is usually an awareness of the irrationality. While individuals with OCD recognize their thoughts and behaviors are excessive or unreasonable, they still struggle to control them. So it's not just about the logic of like knowing that this isn't going to help me or I don't need to do this. Most of the time, people kind of understand that. This isn't a logic thing, this is an emotional thing. This is our body trying to cope with a feeling that does not feel good, and that's why these things start to be kind of difficult and frustrating because we can see through it and understand that it's not working, it's not helping, it's not what we want to do, but at the same time we can't stop ourselves from doing it. We kind of feel like chained to it. And it can be really intense. It can be really frustrating, and it can cause sometimes people to lose a lot of hope and feel like they're going to be stuck with it forever. But partly why we're doing this episode is to put out there that this stuff is treatable and we just got to deal with it the right way and go get what we need. And we can leave these things behind us or at least have it pretty managed as we move forward in our life. And in terms of the premier performance aspect, we talk about these things like specific diagnoses because we all are kind of on different spectrums with the things that we do and how we handle things in life. And these things aren't necessarily bad. It's about how is it impacting our life itself. You could have a diagnosable diagnosis that could actually be benefiting you in your life that we wouldn't want to diagnose and say is a problem and try and get gone because it is actually benefiting. It's not that these things are bad, they're just things. It's how are they impacting our life itself? Is it causing issues and making it harder, or is it helping me out and making it easier? That's kind of the big point of most diagnosis in general, too. So continuing on with it, There is this cycle of anxiety and relief. Compulsions provide temporary relief from the anxiety caused by the obsession, but the cycle often repeats and you kind of get stuck going through it over and over again. There are some potential causes of OCD, and we'll go a little deeper into that later in the episode, but it is believed that it is caused by a combination of genetic, biological, psychological, and environmental factors. So it's a pretty complex process, and it doesn't come from just one thing. We haven't been able to pinpoint it to one thing, but we have seen a lot of different factors that have influenced it. OCD can impact our life in a lot of different ways. OCD gets focused a lot on the thoughts coming up, the obsessions, and then the compulsions end up kind of relieving the stress. So, with that, it doesn't mean necessarily because of that cycle that it's going to cause an issue in your life, but I think you guys can see that it's pretty easy for that to happen. If every single time I, go to shake someone's hand, I have to go wash my hands, and my job happens to involve shaking hands a lot, well, that's going to be pretty disruptive to my workday, and it's going to probably stop me from getting a lot of things done, and it may even cause issues with me meeting people and shaking their hands. So these kind of things can be very impactful. OCD can significantly impact daily life by consuming excessive time with these rituals, such as the hand washing or setting up things in a certain way, organizing our desk a certain way before we start a project, whatever it is. And with that, it usually causes distress and anxiety, which can interfere with work, school, social relationships, mental health, our ability to focus, emotional regulation, all these things. And individuals with OCD may experience difficulties with memory and completing tasks because of these things, with stuff getting in the way. And those missed deadlines and avoidance of situations that trigger the obsessive thoughts can be even more isolating and restrictive. And if we do it just the right way, it could cause issues with our career and even continuing the jobs that we work, because they could become so disruptive that we could get fired. That does happen. The disorder can also lead to social isolation and feelings of shame and guilt, beating ourselves up for feeling what we're feeling and going through the struggle that we're having. Because this stuff is pretty hard and it can be very difficult, kind of recognizing again that awareness of the irrationality, that it's not working, it's not really helpful, but also being stuck doing it and not having a chance to let go of it. So it can lead to a lot of beating yourself up and feeling bad about it. And that does impact our self esteem and the relationships we hold in our life. So, jumping deeper into OCD, why does OCD happen? Obsessive compulsive disorder is a neurological disorder characterized by repeated behaviors such as cleaning and checking despite clear objective evidence of cleanliness, orderliness, and correctness. Although the disease is often mischaracterized as a disorder of fussiness, the disorder actually stems from difficulty in processing uncertainty. That's a big part of this. A lot of the issue comes from that uncertainty of what's going to happen if I don't do this thing. So we push ourselves to do these things and try and get stuff done and try and find some control in the uncertainty through the rituals that we are partaking in. The exact cause of OCD is unknown, but it's believed to be a combination of genetic, brain based, and environmental factors. Research suggests that the difference in brain structure and function, as well as inherited traits, may play a big role in it. Additionally, life events and personal experiences can trigger or worsen OCD symptoms. It is kind of a combination of a lot of this stuff. The genetic aspect, they have found some genes that do connect to it, and there is that piece of just the inheritable traits. We have the brain based side with the brain structure and the function of it. And then we also have the environmental factors that come in and can trigger these things, whether it be a life event or a personal experience, or just how our life is being set up and what's going on in it. And all of these things can either trigger or make these things worse when they do happen. So we want to pay attention to it. OCD does tend to run in families, indicating that genetic component. And while specific genes haven't been identified, they are getting closer at doing so. Research suggests that inherited traits can influence brain structure and function, making some individuals more susceptible to developing OCD. So if you do have people in your family that do have OCD, just keep it in the back of your mind. It doesn't mean you're going to have it or anything like that, but it does give us a probability factor of it kind of increasing a little bit. So just keep it in the back of your mind. Let's just be aware of these things. Just like if you have cancer in your family, it doesn't mean you have cancer, you're going to get cancer, but let's be aware that it's there. Studies using brain imaging techniques have revealed that people with OCD may have differences in certain brain regions, particularly the frontal cortex and the subcortical structures, which are involved in behavior and emotional responses, going back to the frustration of the emotional of this, and that not being a logical process. It's more an emotional process. These differences can affect how the brain processes information and regulates emotions, potentially contributing to obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. On top of that, stressful life events, trauma, and even childhood experiences like bullying or abuse have been linked to OCD too. These experiences can trigger or exacerbate OCD symptoms in individuals who may already be predisposed to the disorder. So we can get set up with it through the genetics, the family environment, the brain structure, all these things. And then the situations may pull the trigger and get it started. And this is how I like to think of it. The genes, the nature side of things kind of sets us up. It loads the gun, and then the environment or the nurture part pulls the trigger. So the stressful life situations can end up starting these things, even if we are predisposed to it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but if we are predisposed to it, there is a chance it can happen if the right life experiences do happen the right way. Some theories suggest that compulsive behaviors can be learned as a way to cope with anxiety or stress. For example, if a person experiences relief from anxiety by performing a specific action like hand washing, they may be more likely to repeat that action in the future, potentially leading to a compulsive behavior. If I did something and it helped me feel better, there's a good chance I'm going to do it again in the future, and it's very easy to start getting into these routines and habits of doing it. You can see this a lot with kids. So if you do notice it in your kids where they start doing things and it seems to be giving them some relief, just be mindful of what that thing is and how it's playing out, because we don't want them to get into a pattern of trying to do something to find relief all the time and creating that dependence on the behavior. We want to help them manage the anxiety and manage the distress as it's popping up, not feeling like they have to kind of deal with it through behavior only. OCD can sometimes co-occur with other mental health conditions like anxiety disorders, depression, or tic disorders. The interplay between these conditions can make it challenging to pinpoint the exact cause of OCD in some individuals, and this is also why sometimes people either do get diagnosed with OCD when they have something else going on, or don't get diagnosed with OCD when they do have it going on, because it can overlap with some of these other disorders pretty well, and it can be a little hard to see because at the core of it, OCD is an anxiety disorder. So it can look like a lot of other anxiety disorders, especially if you don't see the rituals. So the thing to really look for is kind of that ritual aspect of it, of doing this thing to relieve the anxiety. And a good way to manage just looking for those things is also for counting things, because it kind of goes to that aspect of like checking in and keeping count of where things are at, and just the control aspect to try and fight off that uncertainty. There are several factors that can make us more likely to have OCD. Several factors increase the likelihood of developing it, including, like we talked about, genetics, brain biology, temperament, childhood trauma, stressful life events. Additionally, having a family history of OCD, other mental health conditions can predispose us to it, or experiencing pregnancy or childbirth can also elevate the risk because of the stressfulness of that life experience. Certain personality traits, like perfectionism or a tendency towards negative emotions and anxiety as a child, may increase the risk. So if you do see things going on with your kids where they are pretty stuck on perfectionism and these things going a certain way all the time, even if it's not causing major problems now, it might be a good thing to get checked out now and see if we can get something set up around it so it doesn't become bigger problems later. So keep an eye out for that perfectionism or just that tendency towards negative emotions. And if there is anxiety there in the child in the background, just kind of check it out and see what's going on. Maybe it's a general anxiety just from something going on at school. Maybe it's related to rituals and things going on with OCD. Some studies have found an association between traumatic experiences in childhood, such as abuse or neglect, and the development of OCD. When we do go through abuse or neglect, sometimes we deal with it in different ways. One of those ways can be the safety of rituals. Of I'm going to find a thing that I'm going to do that makes me feel like I have some control. Because when we're going through abuse or neglect, it's a lot of not having control. It's a lot of uncertainty. When's it going to end? What's happening? When is the situation going to stop? Whatever it might be. So we do find ways to fill in that gap to feel better, and that's kind of how the OCD part can show up, which is I'm going to do these things to make it feel like I have some control here, and these things do feel better. So it can be a starting point of these things, and it can trigger this stuff to start developing. So again, let's just keep an eye on that stuff and see what's happening. The brain does all sorts of different things when it gets confronted with different sorts of traumas. So let's make sure to just check those things out and see what it's doing when we are getting hit by stuff, even if it's not happening to us specifically. For the time range of where this stuff is getting diagnosed a lot of the time, OCD is most commonly diagnosed in older teens and young adults, but at the same time, it is different between men and women. Because while it does affect men and women equally, boys are more likely to experience the onset of OCD before puberty, while women are more likely to develop it in adolescence or in their 20s. So women tend to get it a little later than men do. That's another thing to keep in mind and just keep an eye out for. That these things can start happening around 10, 11, 12, and it can also happen later in teens and even into 20s. So we just want to keep an eye on it and see when these things are popping up, and keep in mind that things can go undiagnosed, so we can start seeing traits and see that this pattern actually does fit someone else in our life, but maybe we haven't considered that that other person is in their 40s or 50s and they just never had this stuff checked out before. So we can see it at different time frames, but that's usually where we're catching these things the most. Out of all the research, it seems that stressful life events trigger it the most out of almost anything else. There are other factors involved with setting us up and predisposing us to it, but the actual triggering of the OCD seems to be pretty connected to stressful life events. So keep that in mind. Don't just avoid things in your life, but just keep in mind that we're going to have to manage some stuff and take care of things when they are coming up. We can't just push it down and pretend it's not happening. That's how we fall into these problems, and it starts impacting our life in pretty negative ways. And if you do have OCD, if there is things going on, there are ways to treat it. So how to treat OCD? The most effective treatments for obsessive compulsive disorder are cognitive behavioral therapy. That's CBT. That's also in combination with medication, particularly SSRIs, which are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. A combination of both approaches is often recommended for optimal results. It does not mean this is the only way to get results. They're just saying, from all the evidence and all the research that we have done on it, that this so far seems to be the most evidence-backed way of doing it. And it's going to be different for everyone because everyone's different. But this is a great place to start. Using CBT-based therapy and using medication to help manage it, using those approaches together and seeing if we can kind of get ourselves to a situation that works a whole lot better for ourselves. There's a specific type of CBT, which is ERP, that helps more than anything else. So ERP involves gradually exposing individuals to their fears and anxieties, the triggers, whatever it may be, and then teaching them to resist engaging in the compulsive behaviors. This helps to break the cycle of obsessions and compulsions so we don't feel so stuck, so we can actually get out of these things. So it's partly that exposure therapy of, I'm going to just keep showing you this thing little by little and helping you manage it, helping regulate your body as you're going through it. And in time, eventually we don't have the compulsions come up to deal with those obsessions of those thoughts because we took away the intensity of those obsessions, and there's no anxiety or distress being caused that we're trying to quell through the behaviors or the compulsions that we're using. So we want to slowly kind of work towards that. And I know for some people, the idea of exposure therapy is actually terrible. So I understand how difficult it can be. And the goal of it is going slowly. So I know it's scary and hard. But if we can get this set up and get it going to where we need to get to, you can find a lot of success for it. But again, this isn't the only way to do it. If we do go this route, they have shown on average that 15 exposure sessions is needed for success. This could be direct exposure to the obsessive thought with increasing anxiety and not engaging in the compulsion. This can also be done through imagination. And lately, they've been doing some exposure, some ERP, through the virtual reality headsets that we have available now. Because you can actually let yourself be in the situation, whatever it is, and have those things there without the actual threat or fear of it in real life, and kind of get close without feeling exactly the same. So that could be something you could do with like spiders if you have a fear of spiders. You don't have to go hold a spider, but you could maybe put on a virtual reality set and kind of be in a spot with some spiders around and just help yourself be okay seeing them, be able to take off the headset whenever you need to and be away from the spiders again when you feel like that bar is just too full and you got to regulate the body again. So that can be a cool way to get this stuff done. And it is helpful to kind of have a number to put to it that 15 is pretty average for needing that success. And I mean, that time range is pretty normal with therapy in general. On average, about 12 sessions of therapy in general can help people reach success with what they're going towards. So that 12 to 15 is pretty average for just that range of getting stuff done. And it doesn't mean everything's going to be fixed by 12 or 15 sessions, but we're going to start seeing success. We're going to start working towards the directions we're looking for. Keep getting what you guys need and putting yourself out there, and just keep in mind this stuff does take time sometimes, but once we put the effort into it, we usually get what we're looking for. It just takes some patience, and that's the hardest part. Cognitive therapy helps individuals identify and challenge rational beliefs that fuel their obsessions and compulsions. Sometimes just recognizing which thoughts aren't helping us and trying to get away from them can help us keep moving forward. So that can be a big part of it, and it can help us just feel better. That's why cognitive therapy is kind of one of the top line things with this. We got to kind of recognize what our brain is doing and also try and pull ourselves back away from it. Using some body aspects to help regulate our system can really help out too. And that's why I'm talking about it, because I think adding that in combination with the cognitive therapy work is going to be really helpful. ACT is another therapy technique that can be really helpful. It helps individuals change their relationship with OCD symptoms and focus on living a values driven life, which can help us not stress and worry about it as much, kind of reduce the intensity. And it also helps us manage things by choosing behaviors and actions that are more values focused instead of focused on trying to take care of uncertainty or control or managing the symptoms of the OCD. Stress management techniques will also help as well. That could be things like journaling, peer support groups, having other people to lean on that know what you're talking about or have been through it can be really helpful. Mindfulness is powerful. That's us training our mind to control our thoughts, control our ability to sit in uncertainty, sit in nothingness, all these things. And that helps manage stress and reduce the intensity of those obsessive thoughts. So it's hopefully not going to lead to as many compulsive behaviors, leading to as much disruption in your life. Self-care, that's a big part too. Practicing self-compassion, celebrating small wins, focusing on values, these can all contribute to managing OCD in different ways. That's our armor. The more we take care of us, the more we can handle. That goes back to one of our first episodes if you want to go back to that and get deeper into that. But the whole goal of it is really just taking care of us so we can handle things more. The more we build ourselves up, the less pulls us down, the less kind of disrupts our life. So take care of that armor, give yourself what you need, and let's see what it takes you to. Family members and friends can also benefit from education and support to better understand OCD and help their loved ones manage their symptoms. OCD can be very isolating. It can feel very restrictive and feel like other people don't understand, and you can feel pretty alone sometimes. So if you do have someone in your life that's struggling with this, or you do have OCD yourself and you would like other people to manage it better or help support you better, it's always great to just educate people and let people know what's going on. That's why I'm doing these episodes, to help educate people and let people know what's happening. So this could be something that you share and send out to people if you would like to, and just keep putting these things out there for people to get what they need and help them support us in the ways that we needed to be supported. With all that in mind, we're going to jump into habits now. So we talked a lot about OCD and what it is and how habits are involved with it. It's kind of that obsession compulsion dynamic. We have the thoughts pop up, we try and quell it, deal with it through the compulsions. That makes us feel better, and then we get in the cycle of just doing it again and again and again. So it's very easy to start forming habits because it kind of starts feeling itself. But let's talk about forming habits that we want to form for ourselves, and not just because it is helping us feel better with the stress. It's not a coping thing. It's more of a I want to do this for me thing. Habits at the core of them, they make us who we are. This goes back to that 10,000 hours rule. We are what we do. And when we take the 10,000 hours and we're doing the things that often, it helps you reach that expert level of things with whatever you're doing. So time and experience in doing things really helps build up who we are. The things we do really make us who we are. And the more you look at the nervous system, the more you see that we are just a compilation of the things that we've done. So the habits that we are taking part in, the rituals that we are taking part in, really do make us who we are. And it could be very disruptive, like an OCD habit or ritual that causes issues and problems and kind of breaks up issues in our life. But at the same time, it could be something that leads us to success. A lot of successful people are successful because of their habits and their rituals. And you see a lot of people talk about them, about like what their daily life looks like or what their daily habits are or what things they can't go without. That's them talking about their rituals. And it's showing you that if you follow along with things that build you up, you can find more and more success from them. We just got to find the right things for you. And even if we know what the right things are, but we haven't built it in, we just got to do some things to get that into our life and get it active. Once it's there, it's going to help us do some pretty awesome things and kind of build things up. Habits highlight the profound impact that repeated actions, both positive and negative, have on shaping our character, our actions, and ultimately our identity. John Dryden famously stated, we first make our habits and then our habits make us." This emphasizes that we have an agency in forming our habits, which then in turn influence who we become. So we can choose which habits we engage in, and the ones that we tend to spend time doing, the ones that we tend to invest in, that tends to start shaping who we are and who we are becoming. So we have to be very mindful of these habits, what we're doing, what we're spending our time on, and be aware of how it's going to impact and influence us in the long run, because it may cause some issues or even create some successes that you didn't even realize was going to happen because it's setting us up for those things. So let's be mindful of this and be mindful of what we're doing. Now let's talk about how to create new habits and what that looks like. To effectively form new habits, focusing on making small, manageable changes, attaching them to existing routines, and rewarding yourself for progress can really help. Consistency is key, so plan for challenges and track your progress to stay motivated. In regards to starting small, we want to begin with a tiny, achievable action related to your desired habit. This could be anything from doing one push up a day to meditating for 1 minute. If we start too big and you're facing too much failure to start, it's going to demotivate you from trying to build in that habit. So we want to build ourselves up small. We want to start with something that is achievable and then push ourselves a little bit harder the next day and a little bit harder the next day and on and on and on until we get to the end goal, whatever that end goal may be of that habit. Maybe it's doing 100 push-ups in a day or meditating for 20 minutes. But doing like 1 minute of meditation or one push-up a day, that can start us on that journey towards reaching these things. We want to build them up. It's a process. It's not a one-day thing. With that, we also want to do habit stacking. This could be linking it to habits in our existing routine already. For example, you can meditate right after brushing your teeth, so it's kind of connected there already because you're already brushing your teeth. So if you are brushing your teeth, once you're done, you just go meditate right after, and it starts stacking these things together. So every single time you do brush your teeth, that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Before you know it, it just becomes part of your routine. So we can stack things on it. Same thing with like taking vitamins. Maybe you take your vitamins after eating a meal. So every time you eat a meal, you think about your vitamins. And if it's time to take your vitamins, you take them. So you kind of just build these habits into already existing routines. So it has something kind of attached to it. It has that anchor that helps make it easier to hold on to and stack on top of. Just keep that in mind and think about some things you're doing in your life that you could add it onto. Like if you want to get into stretching, you could make sure to stretch before you work out, maybe after you work out too. So that exercise piece could be the habit that's already there in our routine that we add in the stretching on top of. Whatever works. You also want to try and make it easy. Reduce the friction and make the new habit as simple as possible to execute. If the thing you're trying to do is really hard to do, it's going to be hard to get yourself to do it. So let's just be aware of that and let's try and reduce the friction however we can to make it as easy as possible. If you're trying to sit down to write like a book, trying to sit down and write a book over a 5 hour period where there's every once in a while you get 20 minutes free, then you got to go do something else for like 30 minutes, and you get another 20 minutes or even 15 minutes, and you're trying to write in those little gaps, but you're constantly getting disrupted because you're doing other things. That's going to be really hard. It's going to start making it tough for you to stay consistent with writing. So we want to try and make it easy. If you just blocked off like a 2 hour gap so you could just sit and write and not even think about anything else, and you could just purely focus on that, put everything on do not disturb, that could help reduce that friction and make it easier just to get into that habit and start doing it. So just be aware of when you're doing these things and what's getting in the way, and if there is any way to get stuff out of the way to just make it easier for you to do the thing. We also want to track our progress. Use a habit tracker to monitor your consistency and celebrate your wins. We want to see how we're doing. If we lose track of what's going on, at some point you're probably just going to fall off of it because you have no idea how it's going and you can't see what's working and what's not. So it's always good to track our progress. That helps keep us motivating and helps us keep going. And it shows us that even if we're not at the finish line, that we're at least going on the right direction and heading on the path that we want to be on. So track that progress somehow. That could be, writing little journal articles to yourself about just how it's going and where you're at. That could be, a little schedule that you're ticking boxes on. It could be, a list that you're checking off. Whatever it is, just track things, and when things do go well, just make sure to celebrate them a little bit. We don't have to go crazy, but we got to celebrate them. With that, we have to reward ourselves. Reinforcing the new habit by associating it with a positive experience is really helpful. This does not mean that we want to go do something super unhelpful because we did something helpful and productive in our life. We don't want to go destroy it by doing something, you know, the opposite. Like if I want to go for a run and I go for a run and then I just have a bunch of junk food once I get home to celebrate it, that's not going to really help me in the long run. So we want to be aware of what the reward is and not have it getting away from what the habit is. But we want to reward ourselves for building in the habit that's going to make it easier to keep going. It's going to help reinforce it. That's the behavioralism aspect of us. So if you do find a way that you can reinforce this for yourself, it is going to be a helpful way to keep building up these productive and positive aspects for yourself. You just want to be patient. Building new habits takes time and effort. Don't get discouraged by setbacks. They're going to happen. Just get back on track as soon as possible and just reflect on what happened. Failures and setbacks help us figure out what's going wrong and help us figure out what's in our way. And that is helpful, and that can lead to some really good things if we help ourselves do it. So don't be scared of it. Don't be worried about it. Just get ourselves back on track and just keep going again. You might be surprised at how well it can go. And plan for obstacles. Identify potential challenges and create strategies to overcome them. If you can look down the line and see a thing that is going to get in the way and make it hard to do, see if you can problem solve it now. Let's just try and get ahead of things and cope ahead a little bit, going back to that ABC skill we talked about in a past episode. Plan ahead for the obstacles, see what you can do, try and get ahead of them before they show up. And if they show up and they knock you down a little bit, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep going, get yourself back up again, and don't let it pull you back down. You got to stay consistent. Repetition is crucial. Aim to perform the new habit regularly, even on days when you don't feel like it. We have to use things in all contexts. The more you do it, the easier it is for it to be a part of your life. Whether it's learning a skill or a strategy, or it's building in a new habit that you want to have a part of your life, we have to repeat it. We have to stay consistent with it. If we don't, it typically leads to problems. So find ways to include it, even on days when you feel like you don't really need it or don't really feel like it. You just want to try and stay with it. Consistency is key. Sometimes we just got to pull ourselves through it. And the thing with life is we're not always going to feel like wanting to do it. We're just not. That's just the reality of it. So we can't always wait for wanting to do it. Sometimes we got to push ourselves towards the things we need or we want because we want them, not because we want to do the thing right now. Find your why. Understanding the reason behind your new habit will help you stay motivated. It's really hard to stay motivated and focus on doing things if we have no idea why we're doing it. Finding that why and understanding the motivation for why we're doing this thing is going to help you stay on track and get the things done best you can. So let's try our best to do that. With it, another thing that we could do is also strengthen habits we already have or are already working on. It doesn't have to be just creating habits from just the ground up and starting brand new. One thing you can do with this is optimize a habit loop. So the way to do that would be to identify and strengthen the triggers that initiate your habit. For example, if you want to exercise every morning, leaving your workout clothes by the bed can be a cue. So that can get us started and remind us that this is what I have to go do now. I'm going to push myself to go do this thing. So we just kind of set ourselves up and create that loop so that our next action kind of goes with the habit that we want it to be. And we're kind of pushing ourselves in the direction we want to go. In regards to routine, you want to focus on consistency even when it feels challenging. If your habit is meditation, aim for a few minutes a day, daily instead of an hour-long session, if that's more realistic for you right now. We want to make sure to make these things consistent. So if what you're trying to do is too much, it's going to be really hard to be consistent. If you're trying to work out in the morning and your goal to work out in the morning is to run 10 miles every morning, that's going to be pretty hard to do, especially if you're just starting. So maybe we just start with like 1 mile every day and see how that goes. So make sure you can do something that is manageable. And it's not saying don't push yourself. Let's just be realistic in terms of pushing ourselves too much too fast and make sure that we're doing it in a consistent way where we can slowly uptick, but we're not going too far too fast. Reward. We want to ensure the habit provides a sense of accomplishment or gratification. So you might track your progress, celebrate milestones, enjoy a cup of coffee after completing the habit, but you want to give yourself kind of a shout out for doing what you're doing. So if you do want to get yourself up in the morning and go for a run, then get up, go for that run, and then once you come back, then you can do some things to kind of manage things for yourself. Maybe I'm going to have a cup of coffee to enjoy that. I got that done, and I'm going to sit here and just sit outside and enjoy the birds for a second. Maybe it's I'm going to have a nice breakfast, and I'm going to really celebrate what my time was. Maybe I'm going to post it somewhere or brag to my friends. Whatever it is. You just want to track the progress, see how you're doing, and also give yourself the shout out for doing it so it feels good and it makes you want to get back to it again. Another thing is making it easier and more appealing. That's reducing that friction again, like we talked about. Create an environment that supports your habit and minimizes obstacles. Example, if you want to drink more water, place a water bottle on your desk. It can be super simple like that. If we do have the opportunity to act on the habit more often, we are going to do it. We have to set ourselves up. We've even seen this with crime. If it's easier to commit a crime rates actually go up. They saw this with car thefts in the 90s, that it was especially easy to break into cars and steal cars, so that it was happening at really crazy rates. And then they made it just a little bit harder and it stopped. It wasn't that they had to make any big changes or change society or anything like that. But if you can create an opportunity that's either easier to engage in whatever habit you're trying to create or easier to avoid that habit you're trying to stop, that is going to help you move forward in those directions. We got to figure out what we're trying to do. We got to figure out opportunities to make it easier for us to engage in those things. And the more you set yourself up with it, the better it's going to go. You also want to increase the attractiveness of it. Pair your new habit with something you enjoy. For example, listening to your favorite music or podcast while exercising can make it more appealing. If you can make things fun, it's going to be easier for you to engage in them. If you have to do the dishes and you hate doing the dishes, turn on a show you really like to watch and watch it while you're doing the dishes. It might make it easier. Maybe you put on some music you enjoy and it makes it easier. But we want to try and make it easier by increasing the attractiveness of it, because that's going to help us get to it. If it seems like a really horrible, terrible thing, you're going to have to use a lot more willpower to push yourself towards it to get started than if you can increase the attractiveness of it and just make it seem like an easier thing. Another thing is use the 2-minute rule. We talked a little bit about the 2-minute rule with a brain activity in the past, but with this, we want to start with a version of the habit that is so small it takes less than 2 minutes to complete. So, for an example, instead of a 30-minute workout, maybe we do a quick high knees for like 2 minutes. So it's trying to find a part of the habit that we can do in those 2 minutes, because 2 minutes is a lot more doable than 30 minutes or an hour or something else. This kind of goes back to that idea of keeping it small. We just want to start with something small and manageable, get ourselves going, start building that momentum, and then we can start acting on these habits more and more often. We also want to leverage habit stacking. So identify existing habits, find daily routines that are already well established, like brushing our teeth, making morning coffee, getting into bed, stack the new habit on top of it. So it could be integrating your desired habit into the existing routine, such as after the current habit, I will then engage in the new habit. For example, after pouring a cup of coffee each morning, I'll meditate for 2 minutes. So you want to have the thing you're already doing and then add on the piece after that kind of gets attached to it, so it kind of anchors it together, makes it easier to get to that second aspect of it. So just play around with that and see what activities in your life you're already doing, whatever habits you're already partaking in, and seeing if you can add in the new habits you're trying to include in your life attached to those habits. Track progress and celebrate wins. Visual tracking using a calendar or habit tracking app to mark off each day you successfully complete the habit can just feel good. It gives this sense of accomplishment. It also gives us something to look at to celebrate our successes and keep track of things. I mean, this is partly why they have like day sober and AA and NA programs, just kind of something to celebrate, to track progress, see how it's going. You want to give yourself that mental pat on the back and a small reward after consistent progress, and just keep building yourself up that this is good things and you're heading in the direction you want to head in. So have a way to kind of track it, have something concrete you can look at. Otherwise, we have no idea how it's going. We're just guessing, and it's going to probably be emotional based. And if we're working in the emotions of all this stuff, it's pretty easy to fall off the things that we want to build in and start falling back to things that aren't helping us as much. You also want to embrace those setbacks and cultivate patience. Learn from the lapses. If you miss a day, reflect on the reason and adjust your approach. We never want to miss twice. So we want to figure out what went wrong, what happened, and try and keep getting at these things. And we want to make it a rule to avoid skipping the habit 2 days in a row. So if we do have a day that goes off, don't beat yourself up. Don't build up a lot of shame. Just reflect on it, understand what happened, what went wrong, and then push yourself to get back to it again tomorrow. Be kind to yourself. Habits take time to form. They are difficult to do, and patience is the hardest part of these things. So focus on progress over perfection. Don't get caught up with not being at the finish line. Just doing a little bit at a time is all we need to do sometimes. And research suggests it can take around 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. So it can be pretty intense and pretty long to go through with these things. That's a little over 2 months. But we want to keep in mind that we have to keep pushing towards this stuff. And if you do it long enough, it will start becoming automatic. It will start becoming a part of your everyday. You just got to get yourself there. Habits can help us with a lot of different things. Habits can significantly improve various aspects of our lives by promoting consistency, discipline, and efficiency. They can aid in achieving goals, enhancing health and well being, improving time management and productivity. Habits also help in developing skills, managing stress, and fostering positive social connections. So we want to help ourselves build these habits up because they really make us who we are. They help us become who we want to be. And they're going to help us in so many different ways of our life and help be productive in the ways of our life that we thought we could be, but maybe we haven't realized how to get there. They can help us become who we want always They can help us become who we've always wanted to be. So let's play around with these things. Let's figure out what we want to do, who we want to be, and let's find the habits and rituals that we can engage in and do those things as often as we can. And that's going to help you get better and be better as a person and reach those goals that you have for yourself. There are a lot of habits that can cause issues in our life, and we got to recognize those too. Numerous habits can be detrimental and affect on our physical, mental, emotional health, ultimately hindering our quality of life. Some of those common habits that can cause issues can be physical, whether that be sitting too much. Prolonged sitting can increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, obesity, diabetes, certain cancers, not exercising enough, unhealthy eating habits, poor posture. We can go on and on about like why these things are unhealthy and what they can lead to. But there's a lot of different habits we can get into for our own physical health that can cause more issues and more problems in our life and get in the way of that quality of life. There's also mental and emotional health habits that cause issues, like negative self talk. Engaging in self criticism and pessimistic thinking can negatively impact our mood, self esteem, and may reinforce unhealthy core beliefs. And like I've talked about before, that pessimism has been shown to actually shorten our lifespans too. Another thing can be excessive screen time or just doom scrolling. Sometimes we get so caught up, we're just scrolling all day long. Maybe constant worrying. We have these things that cause problems for us and they get in the way, and we don't always realize that they're causing problems. Same with productivity and social habits. If we're ineffectively multitasking, it can decrease our productivity and lead to errors and problems. If we're not prioritizing goals the right way, it can lead to feeling overwhelmed and struggling to achieve targets. Being consistently late, we can keep causing problems for ourselves and getting away from the goals that we're trying to achieve, and that's going to impact our success with what we're trying to reach. So if we do want to reach that premier performance, we do want to be the best we can be with this stuff. We got to be aware of the habits that we're engaging with, the habits that are helping us, and the habits that aren't. We got to catch these things when they're happening, and we have to recognize the problematic habits. If we don't, they're going to stay there in the background. They're going to keep causing issues and problems. We have to help ourselves get to where we need to get to, and we got to build in a bunch of things that are going to help us get there and build us up, not break us down. So if you are trying to recognize problematic habits, there's a couple things you can look for. Physical symptoms are such as like experiencing low energy levels, frequent illness, weight fluctuations, digestive issues, difficulty sleeping. These can all be a sign or presence of unhealthy physical habits. So just keep an eye on that stuff, see if that's going on. We also have emotional indicators, persistent feelings of anxiety, depression, irritability, lack of motivation, low self esteem, difficulty coping with stress. All of these things may point to negative mental or emotional habits. So let's be aware of them. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if these things are happening. We can also just catch things being an impact on our daily life. So that could be noticing if your habits are hindering your ability to perform daily tasks. Could be affecting your relationships. Could be impacting your work or studies, preventing you from pursuing activities you enjoy. So if these things are happening, they're getting in the way from just what you want to do in your daily life. We got to jump in there and start taking care of stuff. Another one is dependence and difficulty stopping. If you find yourself unable to control or stop engaging in a particular behavior, even when you know it's unhealthy, it could indicate a deeply ingrained habit or even an addiction. So keep that in mind too. If you feel like you can't get through the day without a certain thing, or you feel like you can't stop a certain thing, that might be something to focus on and try and get gone. Because it might cause more and more problems for you, and we don't want to get stuck with those. There's negative consequences too. Observing negative outcomes in our lives, such as financial difficulties due to overspending, declining relationships due to poor communication, or health problems stemming from lifestyle choices, they can all highlight the presence of problematic habits. So just be aware of that. Again, like we talked about at the top of the episode, OCD or habits that we have aren't necessarily bad. A lot of times it comes back to what is it doing to our life? And that negative consequence piece can be a good indicator that there's a problem here. And this thing, well, I thought might have been fine in my life, is actually causing problems here. So we got to be aware of those negative consequences. And there are some steps we can take to address problematic habits. The first step is self awareness. Recognition is always the first step. You have to acknowledge and identify the habits that are causing issues in your life. If you don't know they're there, it's really hard to do anything about them. Once we know that they're there, we want to track and observe them. Pay attention to when, why, and how often you engage in these habits. Help us understand kind of the ingredients of what's pushing us to doing these things. Once we understand the triggers, we identify the situations, the emotions, or thoughts that lead to these behaviors, then we can start doing the work to either set those situations up in different ways so that the triggers don't happen as much, or we help ourselves manage those triggers and reduce the intensity of the triggers so it's not causing us to go towards things we don't want to go towards. And with that, sometimes we got to seek support. Don't hesitate to reach out to friends, family, or professionals for guidance and support in breaking unhealthy habits and building healthier ones. Like I said, if you do struggle with OCD, if you're having issues with habits in your life, this stuff is very treatable. Don't get caught up accepting that this is just what it is and you're going to have to just suffer with this your whole life. Go get what you need and get it taken care of and set yourself up for success. You're going to be really glad you did in the long run if you do it. You just got to help push yourself to these things sometimes. And set realistic goals. Start with small, manageable changes rather than trying to overhaul everything at once. If you're doing too much at once, you're going to freak yourself out. It's going to be overwhelming and you're going to stop. And that failure is going to demotivate you from wanting to do more. So keep it small, keep it manageable, and help yourself keep moving. The more progress we make is usually coming from consistency and just staying on the path than it is about some big jump and doing one big thing. So stay realistic and stay manageable with it. But don't be afraid to push yourself too. Focus on positive replacements. You want to replace unhealthy habits with healthier alternatives to serve your well being better. Because if we're replacing something, it's going to help us not do the old thing. If you're just trying to get something gone and you're not going to replace it with anything, you just have that void, it's going to be really hard. It's a lot more just like discipline than actually setting yourself up for success. So we want to replace that thing with something else. We don't want to just leave a void in our life. Keep that in mind with whatever you're trying to get gone or get changed in your life, that we want to have something filling that spot. Otherwise your brain's going to go back to the old thing to try and fill it again. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself throughout the process and acknowledge that breaking habits take time and effort. Don't beat yourself up about this stuff. It's going to be hard sometimes. There's a lot of people that struggle with changing their habits every day. This stuff isn't easy. We have to give ourselves that patience to get there, and we got to give ourselves the grace that we're going to fail and it's going to be hard sometimes. If it was easy, everyone would do it. I mean, just think of everyone's New Year's resolutions every year. Everyone says they're going to build a new habit, do a new thing, and we all joke about how people fall off of it in like 2 weeks. Because building in new habits is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. So you have to have that space and grace for yourself to understand that it's going to be hard and have that compassion with yourself. Because if you beat yourself up and feel bad about it, that's going to pull you away from your goal and it's going to make it less likely to happen. And it's going to increase the anxiety and the stress that you're already holding on to. So give yourself the room to do what you need to do and find the success you're looking for by helping yourself there. Don't be too hard on yourselves. I know sometimes we think it helps us by being hard on ourselves, but it doesn't. Okay? Give yourself the compassion, help yourself get there, and then just keep moving and enjoy it all as it shows up. But like I said, recognition is the first step. If you see these things happening and you're realizing you're having these problems, let's take care of it. Let's jump on it. It's really hard to do things about this stuff if we don't know what's happening. So make sure to jump on things and take care of stuff. If you do have anyone in your life that you think would benefit from this episode, make sure to share it with them. You know, the whole goal of this is just getting this out there to people and helping them live a life that works better for them. So if you do have somebody you think could get something from it, send it their way. If you have someone that's been talking about trying to do something new and start a new habit in their life, let's have them start here and see if it helps out and gives them a little direction. If you did benefit from it in any way, leave a review. It would be awesome to hear what you guys got from it, whether that be a review on any of these podcast apps themselves or just like on YouTube or comments on any of the social media pages or even just letting me know directly. I just would love to hear from you guys, love to hear what's helping, what's not, what could be better. Any of this feedback would be really awesome for us because we want to make it the best we can make it. So just let us know how it's going and what you're seeing. And if there is something you think could be cool, let me know. I'm always open to to covering topics people want to hear about and getting deeper into things that people would want to see. And if there's certain parts of the episode that you want me to focus more on, I can always do that too. Just let me know. I make it a point to give you guys actionable tools to find success in your life. So I want you guys to try these things out and see if they're working. See if they do help you out and help you reach these goals in your life. The things you want to reach, you can reach in life, even if you feel like you can't get there. Sometimes we just got to believe in ourselves and give ourselves the opportunity to go after these things in our life. So give yourself the room to chase your dreams, and let's see if we can actually reach them and see what they become. And let me know how it's going. I love staying connected with you guys. Let me know if it goes well. I want to hear the success stories. I want to hear the struggles. I want to be able to help you guys and be a resource however I can be. So just let me know what's happening, what's going on, and I'll be here to help connect with you guys and support you guys however I can. I just want to be a resource for you. And if you do have anything you want to share, or anything you want to ask, or anything you need from me, you can reach out to me in a lot of different ways. You can email me at tmailer@premierperformancereno.com. My last name spelled Mahler. You could text or call me at 775-561-0056. We got the Instagram and the TikTok with the same name, Premier_Performance_Reno. We also have the Facebook page and the LinkedIn page, the same name, Premier Performance LLC, for both of those. So make sure to follow us, subscribe, jump on all these things, reach out if you need anything, and we'll just keep going with this stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about DBT. So DBT is a therapy style that we're going to jump into and go really in depth about what it is, how it was created, the different aspects of it, and what you can get from it as we keep building these things up. And then in future episodes, we'll go a little deeper into certain modules within the DBT stuff because I think it'll be helpful to get those things out there too. So we're going to really dive into that, help you guys understand what that looks like and if that type of therapy would be beneficial for you. And there's going to be some cool little gold nuggets in there that you might be able to implement into your life now and see if it does help out. So make sure to tune in next week. We're going to jump into that. Go into your week, go have some fun, do the best you can be the best you can be, go reach that premier performance and create that premier mindset along the way. And if there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week and have some fun. See you soon.